Right now, around 3,500 people have been evacuated from their homes across 2 Italian provinces, and a wildfire on Monte Faeta has burned more than 800 hectares, roughly 2,000 acres of Tuscan forest. As 4 Canadair from Rome and Genoa run continuous water drops over the slopes between Lucca and Pisa, regional authorities classify the fire as still very much active despite 70% perimeter containment. On Tuesday, April 28th, the blaze ignited from an olive farmer's burn pile that escaped its boundaries. By Friday morning, Tuscany Regional President Eugenio Gianni confirmed the wind is still pushing the flames and complicating operations. Nationally, this is the largest active wildfire in Italy at this moment. Forecasters extended the regional yellow wind alert through 6 p.m. Friday, meaning operations are running against an active wind front. But here is the detail that should stop you cold. The mountain range Monte Faeta sits on, the Monte Pisani, produced the largest wildfire in modern Tuscan history less than 8 years ago. In September 2018, 1,150 hectares burned across the same chain in a single weekend. The recovery infrastructure built afterward is still on the slope today, physically holding the hillside together. The fire is being fought as an emergency. The mountain it is burning on is being treated as a reset of a problem the regional government had previously classified as resolved. Here is how we got here. Tuesday afternoon, somewhere on the Lucca side of Monte Faeta, a farmer was burning trimmings from spring olive pruning, the standard method for disposing of branches across Mediterranean farming regions. The Grecia wind was already blowing across central Tuscany at 40 to 50 kilometers per hour. Eugenio Gianni had already issued a public statement reminding residents that on windy days, agricultural burns are explicitly forbidden under Tuscan regional regulation. The burn happened anyway. By Wednesday morning, the fire was estimated at 70 hectares. By Thursday afternoon, 400. By Friday morning, 800, roughly 6.5 times the size of Vatican City. 3,500 residents of Asciano Valle in the San Giuliano Terme municipality of Pisa province were evacuated overnight Thursday into Friday. The order extended from the village center north to Provincial Road 30, locally known as the Lungamonte. On the Lucca side, Mayor Mario Pardini issued a separate ordinance for Via San Pantaleone, Via dei Marinari, and Via del Monte. A gymnasium in Gazzano was open for evacuees. A field kitchen was activated overnight. 4 Canadair from the National Fleet are operating in continuous rotation, refueling at sea off the San Rossore Regional Park before each drop. 48 firefighters with 19 vehicles are deployed on the Asciano front alone. Dozens of forest fire teams from the regional Antincendio Boschivo system are on the ground. The Italian Army, Carabinieri, Guardia di Finanza, and Polizia di Stato are supporting evacuation. Now, zoom out. What makes this fire different from a single bad afternoon is the cause. Matteo Cecchelli, mayor of San Giuliano Terme, told RAI, public broadcaster, on April 30th that the ignition was almost certainly an agricultural burn that escaped containment. His exact words, "It was probably caused by the burning of olive tree prunings that got out of hand." Got out of hand. Therefore, the fire that has burned 800 hectares of Tuscan forest, evacuated 3,500 people, closed a state highway, and forced a regional airport to issue delay warnings did not start with arson or lightning. It started with an agricultural practice performed thousands of times every spring across Italy, performed on a day when the law explicitly forbade it. Fabio Barsanti, deputy mayor of Lucca, posted a Facebook video on Thursday. The fire is still very much active. All efforts are being made to contain as much as possible the perimeter, but we cannot relax or make predictions because we are at the mercy of the wind. Therefore, the operational decisions on the ground are not being made by Italian Fire Command. They are being made by the Grecal. A wind at 40 to 50 kilometers per hour on an 833-meter slope can throw an ember up to a kilometer beyond the visible fire line. Overnight on Friday, the wind shifted and the flames advanced. The 4 Canadair were grounded for the night. The fire kept moving. The infrastructure cascade started before dawn. ANAS, the Italian State Highway Authority, closed approximately 1.5 kilometers of State Route 12 at San Giuliano Terme, including the Monte Faeta tunnel. Toscana Aeroporti, the operator of Pisa International Airport, announced possible delays on both arrivals and departures due to the active fire approximately 10 kilometers north of the runway. The Prefettura di Pisa warned residents in 4 municipalities to keep their windows closed. And here is what is not making headlines. September 24th, 2018, late evening. A drought summer had left the Monte Faeta range tinder dry. On Monte Serra, the highest peak of the range at 917 meters, roughly 10 kilometers south of Monte Faeta, multiple fires were ignited deliberately in a pattern investigators later described as having been set with practiced precision on a day chosen for the wind. The flames moved through 3 municipalities, Calci, Buti, and Vicopisano, over 72 hours, 580 teams, 1,350 volunteers and forestry workers, 5 Canadair, 2 civil protection helicopters, approximately 700 residents evacuated. When the smoke cleared, more than 1,150 hectares of forest had burned. The slopes that had stood above Calci and Vicopisano were black. Then came the part nobody filmed. The region of Tuscany committed 1.5 million euros to immediate restoration. A task force of 50 forestry workers per day moved onto the burned slopes. Over 3 months, they built 200 kilometers of gratifiate, woven slope stabilization fences designed to keep ash and burned soil from washing into the valleys below. They installed 200 check dams in the watercourses. They repaired more than 12 kilometers of forestry roads. Most of that infrastructure is still on the slope. It is the only reason the hillsides above Calci have not collapsed in 8 winters of rain. But the stabilization built after 2018 was designed to manage the consequences of one fire. It was not designed to absorb a second fire on the same range 8 years later. The 2018 recovery was built on the assumption that the next fire would not arrive for decades. The next fire arrived in 7 years. If the current Monte Faeta fire crosses into the recovery zone, the question is whether the gratifiate, the check dams, and the regenerated vegetation can take a second event in the same place. The 2018 fire took 3 months of restoration work and 1.5 million euros to repair. The 2026 fire is, as of Friday morning, on day 4 and still active. There is a particular kind of fire system that the Mediterranean mountain ranges of central Italy now produce, one where a single farmer's pruning pile under Gricale wind conditions reproduces. Within 72 hours, an event that the regional government had previously classified as the largest fire in modern Tuscan history. 3,500 people are still away from their homes. 800 hectares of forest are still smoldering. 4 Canadair are still in the air. The wind alert is still active. And the 2018 recovery infrastructure is still on the mountain. In 2018, the same mountain range needed 3 months of restoration work and 1.5 million euros to repair what one wind day had already destroyed. 8 years later, on the same range, the wind is blowing again. If this story is worth telling, subscribe. We cover more of these every week.